Welcome everybody on this glorious Friday for our Coaching Cafe, best practice in supporting the implementation of a coaching culture. My name is Brigitte Calvert, for those that don't know me, from the Open Door Coaching Group, and I'm really excited to be with you today to have this conversation. Last week, Natalie Ashdown kicked off our Coaching Cafe series, the first in a little while, introducing a coaching culture as a topic. And that was inspired by the recent updates to our diploma program. So today, I'm going to continue our discussion and talk about best practice in the implementation of a coaching culture in organisations. Part of the strategy of implementation is creating those visible signs of coaching, hence organisation artefacts. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really welcome you too to add to the conversation. We'll talk about that in a second. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the lands on which we meet today, and their continuing connection to the land, waters and communities of Australia. We pay our respects to them and their elders, past, present and emerging. So let's have a look at our agenda for today. We're looking at talking about supporting the implementation of a coaching culture in the organisation, the business unit or the team. And we're going to be focusing our attention on best practice around organisational artefacts. I'm also keen to hear about your experience with organisational artefacts in your environments. So let's create that sense of community, that shared learning experience, and have some thought-provoking conversations. You know, when we think about best practice, organisational artefacts, we're talking about evidence of a coaching culture. We're talking about how we know that coaching is a part of an organisation. So it's part of that coaching culture framework that Natalie was talking about last week, and it is a strategy piece. So let's have a look at that coaching culture framework that many of you may have seen last week with Natalie, and here we have highlighted organisation artefacts, which becomes part of the strategy, the setup of your coaching culture, which is a really, really important piece. So, the organisation artefacts are those documents, those processes, those procedures that support the implementation of coaching from a strategic perspective. It is evidence of a coaching culture. And this particular diagram here is featured in the diploma of organisational coaching. Organisational artefacts present really as those noticeable references, if you like, to a coaching culture in your organisation or your department or your team. And it demonstrates that coaching is actually present. And it's an important part of the way that organisations operate and how they communicate. So let's have a look at the types of artefacts that support implementation. For a moment, this is me and my technical skills. There we go. A culture of coaching is supported and noticeable when references to coaching is reflected in a number of things. That being job advertisements, job descriptions, recruitment and selection procedures, key performance indicators, rewards and recognition programs, organisational charts, internal web pages, the intranet, posters, and other coaching tools. So we're going to focus our attention on some of these organisational artefacts and how they integrate and work in organisations. So let's have a look at job descriptions and job advertisements and the type of roles that are included in those. Internal coach. So if we think about job descriptions and job advertisements, it's relatively new actually. I think about, when I started coaching a long time ago, this didn't exist actually, coaching in job advertisements and job descriptions. So it's really exciting to see that these roles are becoming more prevalent in job advertisements and job descriptions. So internal coach is one of those. Leadership development coach. Leadership capability coach. Coaching and mentoring manager. Senior advice coach. And sales coach. So when we look at some of these roles, it's interesting to note the word coach. And I think for some of those who might have been part of the Certificate 4 program that we run as well, we talk about this, particularly those similarities and those differences between some of these skills. For example, coaching versus mentoring versus managing or consultant, for example. So when we're looking at some of these job advertisements, it's really important to get clear around those descriptions, those job descriptions, looking at what is it exactly that the organisation is looking for. So are they looking for a coach actually? Or perhaps they're looking for a blend of coaching and mentoring, or maybe they're naming something a coach where perhaps it's actually some sort of consultancy role. So being really aware of what is it that they're really looking for. It's great to see coaching come up in job advertisements and job descriptions. And I think it's a really great idea to have a look at what do they make that mean? What does coaching mean here? This dream job was sent in by a very excited alumni member, coaching and mentoring manager. And this job summary describes implement and direct the coaching and mentoring programs, serve as coach to new managers and directors during their transition to new role, individuals looking to develop their emotional intelligence, and individuals looking to explore new career opportunities. Coordinate with external vendors for the use of executive coaching. Coordinate the mentoring program. Evaluate the effectiveness of both the coaching and mentoring programs. So what are the essential functions of this role? Well, serve as coach for new managers and directors as they transition into their new role. Serve as coach for individuals identified on their succession plan. Serve as coach to employees looking to develop their emotional intelligence skills. And serve as coach to employees looking to explore new career opportunities. Really exciting, great dream job. Here's another example that highlights key performance indicators. I'm just going here to the chat room for a moment just to see if... Yeah, absolutely. Great job, Mike. You're absolutely correct. Brilliant dream job. Fantastic. One more here. I'll just go to the chat box again. Yeah, absolutely agreed. It's a wonderful job, isn't it, that one? And it really highlights the opportunity to offer our coaching skill set, and a really good example of an organisation artefact that demonstrates this is the way that we want to do things around here. This is a really good example of integrating coaching into a work environment. Now, key performance indicators is another one of those organisation artefacts, documents that comes alive and gets integrated into organisations to demonstrate that coaching is real. And this is another real example here around leadership development coach. So the consultant will demonstrate a passion for leadership development and be accountable for providing sound feedback and advice within current and future the company's leadership strategies and frameworks, with a view to enabling leaders to deliver on the company's current and future corporate strategic direction. The consultant is required to continually develop while working from a strong base of coaching skills developed through significant experience and a suitable professional qualification. The consultant will work with leaders at all levels of the organisation to support their strategic, tactical and operational outcomes. So let's have a look at some of the key accountabilities here, those key performance indicators, those things that are demonstrated to show up that coaching's alive in this particular role. So a key accountability, number one, apply advanced specialist skills to coaching to better enable leaders to deliver on their business objectives. Exercise independent judgment to planning and scheduling coaching sessions, ensuring the most appropriate level of coaching is provided to individuals. And the third one there, contribute to the development of the strategic plans for the organisational development and learning group. So, you know, I'm wondering here on what your thoughts might be around this particular example that demonstrates some key performance indicators here that highlights, we talked about a little bit earlier around, you know, the differences between the coaching, the mentoring, the managing, the consulting. And looking at this particular ad, this job description, highlights as leadership development coach with a really strong idea of coaching skills in this particular job, but also calls upon some other skills. I notice words like sound feedback and advice. So we know when we're coaching, we don't offer advice when we're coaching. So that may be, you know, a little bit more of mentoring in this particular role. So whilst coaching stands out as being strong in this particular ad, there also, you know, are parts of other skills such as advice giving. So we might be looking at a bit of mentoring or consulting there. It says this consultant is required to continually develop while working from a strong base of coaching skills. So acknowledging that role seems to be well-rounded, that asks for a variety of skills, and certainly a strong base of coaching skills, which is really exciting, I think. What are some other thoughts around this particular example, leadership development coach, highlighting those key performance indicators? So really, you know, while you're thinking about that, key performance indicators can form, you know, those specific ways that can measure coaching in an organisation. If we think about KPIs, we can think about the weighting or the percentages of particular skills that might weigh towards a particular job position. You know, certain percentages might be coaching. Like this one, for example, there's a percentage of coaching skills, but there's also a percentage of mentoring and, you know, some consultancy that's mentioned there as well. So, you know, when we think about that, we're assigning coaching skills to the KPIs, to the key performance indicators. And KPIs can also link to performance plans. How do our performance plans link to the demonstration and use of coaching, as an example? So of course, KPIs highlight specifically the person's role and what they're measured on. It's the implementation and delivery of coaching in their role, and what percentage of their performance is dedicated to coaching. I've got another, just go to the chat box here. Thanks, Mike. I think important to have measures to seek and track the development of individual leaders being coached. Absolutely. You know, measurements are really, really important to track, you know, to track the development of individual leaders that are being coached. So we're looking at it not only from those that are coached, but also those on the other end who are being coached. The value of having the coaching in the workplace and what's it giving to the environment. How are people now performing now that coaching's become part of the culture? You know, from Julie, the importance of independent judgment is very important for such a role. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the leadership development coach in this role carries a number of skill sets, well-rounded, that you apply depending on what part of that role is being played out. So, you know, what percentage of our roles is dedicated to coaching? So being really clear around what does my role entail, looking at job descriptions or job descriptions such as these to ascertain what part of my role is coaching, what percentage, and how do I offer that into the organisation? And as Mike has said there, one of the most important things, of course, is to have individuals being coached in the workplace and being able to measure and track the development of those individuals as well. You know, so what does it look like when we're adding those key performance indicators related to coaching? What does that mean the role looks like? You know, how do we know coaching is being implemented in the organisations? Well, of course, you know, key performance indicators are good evidence of that. Let me see. So are creative tools. Creative tools are really good evidence, of course, of coaching happening in the workplace. This is the creative part, of course, of implementing coaching culture, you know, and serves to reinforce that coaching is happening in the workplace. There are some examples here. I'll just close the chat box for a moment. There's some examples here of really cool coaching tools, actually. You know, the little Blanchard International box there that you can turn and mould that demonstrates certain coaching models and tools and questions, you know, as a really good artefact in the workplace. You'll also notice there the little keychain there with the laminated cards, which is really fantastic. So, you know, you've got the coaching models and you've got, you know, those little prompters, if you like, as part of that keychain that you can refer to remind us of, you know, how we do things around here. You know, prompt us to be asking those great coaching questions and, you know, looking for those prompters to ask open questions instead of perhaps those closed questions, reminding us of the value of asking really great open questions. I'm curious to know also from your perspective, what other sorts of coaching tools or artefacts do you think might be of value in the workplace, or potentially some that you're actually using? I'm going to put it out there for everyone to have a think about. You know, for example, we've got newsletters is one way of adding those organisation artefacts to the workplace. A newsletter is a really great way of being able to communicate to people within the work environment what's happening for us in that coaching space, what's going on, and it's a great way to communicate to everyone around coaching, what's going on, what's working well. Just opening up this chat box again. Thank you. Posters, absolutely. Neil, really great. Having posters around on walls as you walk into the office, you know, to see in front of you those visual prompters that support us in being able to develop and work on our coaching skills. Templates for coaching check-ins, absolutely, Alexandra, that's really, really great idea. You know, when we're constantly checking in with staff and having those really wonderful coaching conversations and having templates that will prompt us and allow us to think about the sorts of great questions we will ask that prompt really valuable coaching conversations. So that's really great. Coaching books, absolutely, Mike. Most definitely coaching books, really interesting texts and information that talks about coaching and, you know, how we apply it, what we apply, those online resources, say on the intranet, absolutely. really, really good resources, coaching resources that become part of the artefacts and part of the way that we operate in our organisation, and really good indicators and evidence that coaching is a part of the culture in this environment. You know, so we've got newsletters, we've got visual brochures. You know, brochures is another visual that demonstrates coaching in some way. That has information about how it's implemented, beg your pardon, what you do, how you do it, you know, giving that sort of information. Laminated pages, as we've talked about before, whether that be in the form of a poster or a template for coaching check-ins. You know, training sessions for managers, absolutely, I love that too, Elizabeth. You know, having those training sessions for managers so that we can implement coaching and practice our coaching skill set, so it becomes part of the way we communicate in the workplace. From Jono, using coaching cards based on the GROW model when he's running leadership programs, fantastic, it's brilliant. T-shirt, actually, Mike, T-shirts, just joking, I actually really like that idea. You know, we've got a bit of a thing going on in the office at the moment about beanies, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Well done. I think T-shirts would be great, Tanya. T-shirts, beanies in winter, putting it out there. I think they're really great ideas. Well done. I think, you know, anything that demonstrates, you know, we believe in this. This is what we do, and this is how we operate. Those particular types of artefacts that show this is what we stand for. Internal web pages, which you know, was brought up before. I think Mike mentioned that. Online resources on the intranet, for example, that are really valuable, that people can refer to as a resource. We've talked about posters, you know, really great colourful posters all over the place that show people this is what we stand for, this is how we operate, this is what we do, this is how we, you know, this is how we communicate with each other, this is how we do things around here. So here's another great example too from one of our clients, and it's a demonstration here of an example of a newsletter, you know, that the Air Force has put together here. And you'll notice that they've got a little what's inside, you know, and there it highlights their newest coaches, which is really exciting. The new documents that they're using as part of their coaching culture, part of their coaching processes and procedures. They also are abreast of the International Coaching Federation credentialing changes, which they value and they put forward and want to communicate with everyone within the environment to let them know what's happening to stay current in terms of their ICF credentialing. And professional development. The forward there talks about the exciting news this month that version 3 of the Coaching 101 Facilitator Guide has been released. You know, that's really exciting. And also too, they suggest this coming week sees the end of financial year. So page 5 has a variety of statistics to reflect how busy you have all been influencing a coaching culture across this great organisation. What a wonderful example, you know, and how valuable a newsletter can be to really encourage the spirit of coaching, encourage that culture being ingrained into the environments of which people work. Well done. And of course, we come back to our coaching culture framework again, that highlighted orange part, organisation artefacts. And I'm curious to know now, what artefacts are in place in your organisation? I know we've had some ideas there. I'm just going to go back to that chat box to think about what sorts of artefacts are in place in your organisation if you reflect on that. You know, Jono's mentioned the coaching cards based on the GROW model, which is brilliant when he runs his leadership programs to demonstrate how important a GROW conversation can be and how flexible GROW is as a tool to have conversations about anything. You know, GROW is a wonderful conversation to have, you know, on the run, in the moment, in the tea room, you know, having those informal types of conversations that you can, structure a GROW acronym around that, so you know where you are in your conversation, and having those valuable conversations. It could be dedicated coaching conversations using GROW. It could be using GROW around conflict resolution. It could be using GROW around feedback conversations. So there are so many ways that we can utilise GROW, as Jono is doing with his coaching cards, which is fantastic. Elizabeth mentioning training sessions for managers, having potentially workbooks or little cards and references and things that you can visibly see that support those managers in learning that coaching skill set. Being able to practice that coaching skill set and take it out back onto the floor and within the walls to have those really great conversations. I think some of these ideas are fantastic that we've talked about: the coaching books, the templates for coaching check-ins, the posters around the rooms. I love the t-shirts, the beanies that we talked about before. All of these things that essentially are visual evidence of coaching playing out in our work environments. It's really an important strategy to set up that foundation of coaching culture in our workplaces and in our environments. Well done, everyone. Really great contributions. So again, as mentioned, this coaching culture framework, of course, is featured in our Diploma of Organisational Coaching. So this brings us to the end of our time together. This, of course, this conversation around organisational artefacts is part of our Diploma of Organisational Coaching, which of course you're welcome to look into if you like. There's also a link there for coaching for performance conversations. That's a little 2-day program that's being run in September as well. So that link is there to have a look at that too if you want to. It's another way of being able to learn and take on coaching skills to take back into your organisations and build upon what you're already doing. Thanks, Elizabeth. Open and honest conversations with the leaders in the organisation. Really, really important part of coaching culture, most definitely. So, keep going with that. I think that's really, really important, those open and honest conversations with leaders. Certainly this program, the Coaching for Performance Conversations, that also supports and links to what you've just said there, Elizabeth, around the open and honest conversations with leaders in organisations. So thank you for joining me today for this conversation around organisational artefacts and the role that they play in our environments, in our work environments. So I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for your contributions. I've really loved the ideas that you've generated here. And it would be wonderful to see you on one of these little courses again. I look forward to speaking with you again at other coaching cafes in the future. Enjoy your coaching, everyone, and I hope it's been of value, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. All right. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Tanya. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Lynette. Thank you. Thanks, Jono. Terrific. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Alexandra. And look forward to seeing you all again soon. Happy coaching. Thanks, Chris. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.